Connection Show. Inspiring hope. Health. Healing. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops. Live with Jill Reynolds. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like our page. Share it. Subscribe to it now and click the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming shows.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is Beverly Fisher. Welcome to the show, Beverly.
Thank you, Jill.
Well, we are so grateful that you could jump in here and join in with us to support and empower women to shine their inner light is what your motto is here. And so we'd love to begin the show, Beverly, by taking the audience on a journey. We believe on the Connection Show that connecting the dots of story helps the listeners to be able to have transformation and healing in their own lives. So if you're willing, could you take us on a transformational journey into the life of little Beverly and share with us what life was like for you growing up, the wonderful things you experienced, and some of the painful struggles you've gone throughout your life that brought you to who you are today?
Absolutely. I am a daughter of a Vietnam vet. He recently passed. And so growing up like that, we moved different bases. We moved around California a few times, and we were stationed down in Long Beach and back in Crescent City where I was born. And he didn't actually come home all the way until, I was like 5 years old is when he finally got out of the military. But he found out about me, I still have the telegram that he received overseas. He didn't see me for 4 months until, I was about 4 months old at Christmas. So that's one of the first times I actually got to officially meet my dad. And so with him being a veteran, when he did get home, there was a lot of different things. Sorry about that. I'm busy out here working for our veterans nonprofit, and of course the motorcycle has to come by right then. He is one of the reasons that I was inspired to work for this veteran organization, is because they need to have support when they get back. It's important for them to have support and the family to have support, whether they're here or overseas. And so because my dad was a vet, he didn't come back the same as he went. And so there was a lot of difficulties and a lot of domestic violence, and things just, there wasn't very long of us living together. It was probably about a year and a half or so. And then it really went awry, and he literally threatened all of us. And first he was going to kill himself in the front yard. And then he decided he was going to take us with him for, take care of us first. So that was quite a shock to the system. And so it took me, I'm still, with losing him, it's been interesting because it's funny how much stuff comes up and you think about. I mean, when he passed, at least we were in a good place, but for years we were just, we'd see him in the summer and see him in the winter, and it was mostly just just spoil him, and then we'd go back to my mom and my stepdad. And so my mom moved in when she got remarried to my stepfather. She had promised that we'd never live with his son. And we then moved in about a month later. And then he began abusing me sexually until I was 11, on and off. And of course, there was violence as far as that, he was always angry. And my other sister, my little sister and my stepsister, they just kind of avoided everything. And so I was the one that really kind of got the brunt of everything.
And this was your stepbrother.
My stepbrother,
Mhm.
yes.
And how old was he at
He was
that?
6 years old, 6 years older than me.
Okay.
So I was, 6, so he was 12.
Mhm.
And then that continued for years. And then I started getting really sick when I was about 11. I was doing everything I could to be good. I do all the chores, straight A student, honor roll, just trying to, be the best kid I could be. And then I started getting sick all the time. And my stepfather, every time I was sick, he'd say, you have to go to school or go to the doctor, one of the two. So I started going to the doctor all the time. Well, the doctor was always finding something wrong, right? Because my body was showing up what was going on in the house, right? The emotional trauma and drama had to show up somehow, right? So, he'd give me amoxicillin and all these different penicillins and things like that. And he finally said to my parents, he said, there's something going on. There's an underlying current that's causing her to be ill. She's ill, all the time. It's different stuff. So they actually started sending me to a psychologist. So then after that, things got really traumatic at home. And I had been getting into modeling. I'd been doing it for a couple of years, and I had been really working hard and going to all this training and going back and forth to all these classes. And I had a huge interview to be on Silver Spoons. I had already had the interview, and they were calling me back for an interview. And my stepdad told my mom to make me go to school, even though I wasn't feeling good. And I went to school, and I got accidentally pushed down a flight of steps, face first into a brick wall, and knocked out my tooth and broke my nose and blackened both my eyes. So my whole acting career that I'd been working for just kind of went right in the toilet. So all of a sudden I just went into, I didn't care about school. I didn't care about anything. My grades went in the toilet. I started ditching school. I didn't care about anything. And so my stepfather, who was also very emotionally and verbally abusive. He was never physically abusive, but it was awful. He said I could either go to juvenile hall or a mental hospital. And I said, I will go to the mental hospital, please. And it was the first time in my life where I wasn't in a state of fear. I didn't even realize how I was always afraid until I went to the mental hospital and had a break. It's like, it was no wonder my body was overreacting. We're supposed to be in the green, as far as our energy level, we're supposed to be in the green. Yellow, okay, cautious. Red is only supposed to be for those, times when you're running away from a lion or something. It's supposed to be a momental kind of thing. And then you then you shake it off and all's well. Well, I was maxing out in that level red for years, literally for years. And so the mental hospital was just amazing. And when I went, because of I was already having allergic reactions because of all the medicines I was getting, and my allergies were up, obviously, because my immune system was shot because of all my stress. When I went to the hospital, I said, I only want natural things. So they did a beautiful test, and they could see that I didn't even have certain minerals and vitamins. I didn't have any in certain categories because my body was just so depleted. So they just, we worked through it all. They got me started on all my herbs, and I still take emergency. And it was the best 4.5 months of my life because I didn't have to worry about anything. I skipped ninth grade. I mean, I was able to just focus on me and just,
And so when you went to the psychotherapist before the mental institution, and then you went to the mental institution, did your abuse issues start coming to light? Did you talk about them to the therapist? And
absolutely.
And did they go back and report? Did they report? They're supposed to report sexual abuse.
As far as I know, none of it got reported. And even when I went to the mental hospital, then I had her and a psychiatrist, because and this is a mental hospital for kids. This isn't some crazy, you know, I
I know.
wasn't locked up. You know, it was beautiful. It was literally like an oasis to me. So,
But
and we didn't,
again, they never reported the sexual abuse going on at the home.
as far as, no, not that I ever knew, because nothing ever happened. Nobody,
So did your parents ever, did you ever, was it ever discussed to your mom?
well,
And
that's what I was just going to say. So when I was in the mental hospital, because obviously it took me a while to even say anything, to my psychologist, we had a good relationship. So it came out as it came out. But when I got into the mental hospital, then they had the psychiatrist was there, my psychologist was there. They brought in the entire family and had me tell them everything. And of course, they told me I was lying, and my stepfather was just screaming at me. It was my what am I saying? What am I making up? And his daughter was actually the one that said, "No, Dad, it's been happening." They all knew because they weren't getting it. It was me. It was me getting it all the time. And then when I started at 11, I started locking my door. I needed a lock on my door and things like that. So then it got really physically abusive with him because then he couldn't surprise me while I was sleeping.
so then when your stepsister your stepdad, this is happening. What
Yeah.
happened then with their marriage, your mother and your stepfather's marriage, and your stepson?
They my stepbrother, everything, they stayed. My mother was literally with my stepfather until he passed away about 3.5 years ago.
So they never admitted anything or protected you. It was all about them.
Yeah. I mean, my mom, I think I was like 20, how old was I? It was like 28, I think I was, maybe a little older. And we were talking, she asked me a question and I started telling her about it. And she just started swearing and yelling at me. And I know it was because I know that it's because she was so angry and just didn't do it. It's now that we've talked so many times in the past few years, because I literally in '02, I was done. We had this big blow up at a family reunion. Where else do you do it, right? Had this huge blowout, and my wedding was like 3 months away, and it was horrible. But as I was driving home, I had to mourn the loss of a mother I was never gonna have. She was never gonna be that mom that I wanted, that I felt like I needed. She didn't have the tools in her toolbox. My mother's a survivor of sexual abuse when she was a child too. So, you know, I always say my mom had a rubber band and a toothpick in her toolbox for me. I did and I've always been psychic. I used to have out of body experiences. I've always had guides to talk to. I've always had the guides are what got me through everything. They were the ones that would constantly say, "It's okay, baby. It's not your fault." Not that it's okay, but it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
So, but no, I was thinking about that too. I mean, they were supposed to, I was literally thinking about that last week. They were supposed to report all of that. I mean, I ended up later in life, I worked as a domestic violence and sexual assault specialist because I wanted to be there for people and help them out and to totally understand at least the concept of what they were going through. I can never understand exactly what somebody's gone through, but there's, those moments,
Yeah. So you ended up getting married, you
Yeah.
said, and then so what was that like? What was your marriage like? Are you still married? Do you have children?
We are still married. We just celebrated knowing each other for 28 years. We're coming up on our 20th year anniversary this fall. And we have 4 children. I always say I gathered my children and then found my husband, at least my older 2. So our oldest is 34, and then my second was 30. And we've got a granddaughter from our 30-year-old, and then we have our 15-year-old and almost 12-year-old.
Okay.
All boys, and then my little girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did you transition then into your balanced living podcast show and your wellness classes?
Well, because of all my issues with medications and whatnot, and what I went through uh, as a teenager, child, that whole time, I started doing herbal practices when I was about 17. So I started looking into different teas and tinctures and tonics and things to help myself, as well as just ritual practices, drumming and things like that. So because of all those issues that I had growing up, I then started doing that. So that's how I originally got into the business. Not so much that I had the business then, but that's what led me into being a herbalist and, practicing herbalism and teaching classes. I've been teaching classes in herbs for probably about 12 years.
Okay.
Just whether it's in person, I've done, whole year programs where we go through everything and work through the chakras. And so that was my way of incorporating my practices. And also, when you're teaching it, you have to practice more. So it's always good. And my students teach me all the time. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you live in California still?
Oh, yes.
You're in California.
Yes. Yeah, we're outside of Sacramento.
And you're handling the gas prices, the insanity in the world.
Well, luckily.
You have to really know how to have a balanced life now.
Luckily I don't have to drive all the time. My husband drives more, but he usually takes the more economical car unless he's moving cabinets. Yeah, my husband and I actually met at culinary school when we were 24. So that just we did our catering for years. And then so it just kind of transitioned into the herbal business as we got older, and I didn't want to keep schlepping all the heavy stuff.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, I'm glad you could jump on today. And what is your podcast show about? Is it about your wellness? Is that what your podcast? What is the name of your podcast show? Is it called Balanced Living?
Yeah, it's Balanced Living, and it's health and wellness, everything under the sun and moon. So we have had podcasts on, like death doulas, people who help people during the transition to death and after for other people, their life partners. We've also had podcasts on meditation, on writing and the benefits of writing. We've had podcasts on crystals and the healing properties of crystals, as well as, I Ching. So all these different ways that you kind of incorporate magic and what it means to you, because as far as I'm concerned, everything is magic. The fact that we exist is magic. They can explain how our body works, but they can't explain why the cells stay together like they do, or how they're so empty and have so much going on. It's, so.
I call it God. I call it God Almighty.
Well, absolutely. God, universal force, whatever, resonates with you.
Yeah.
But it's still all magic, whoever created it.
Yeah. Well, the God of the universe is pretty amazing, and the essence of human life is unbelievable, and
it is
just the whole essence of your body and your cells, and just the love of God inside of us is amazing to me. What I'd love to do at this point is show your bio to the audience so that they can have an idea. My mouse is going crazy here. There we go. This is the bio. So how to connect with Beverly. And it's just been great having you jump on and serving our veterans as well. And so I'm privileged to get to know you just for this short time here and connect with you, and hopefully we'll be able to jump onto your show and talk a little bit about wellness as well. I'm a wellness partner as well with Amari Global, which is the mental wellness company. Actually, Beverly, they have products that have absolutely reduced PTSD in the veterans, and they beta tested it on the West Coast and saw a 60% reduction in PTSD in our veterans by utilizing these organic nutrients. So I really love Amari Global, and I've been on them now for a couple of years and have seen a huge differential in the way that I think and function.
That's wonderful. Yes, we'll have to get you on the show. Absolutely, Jill. Well, thank you so very, very much for inviting me and having me here today. I am honored and grateful.
And thanks so much for connecting the dots of your story on the Connection Show to inspire other people to have hope, health, and healing in their lives as well, Beverly.
Oh, thank you so much, Jill.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Have a wonderful day. Bye now. Welcome to the Connection Show, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops Live with Jill Reynolds. My Pillow, our show's featured affiliate partner, thanks you for your support. Stand with Mike Lindell by shopping at My Pillow. To receive a free gift, make sure you use the promo code Braveheart when you check out and receive up to 66% off select items. My Pillow guarantees the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own. Drop into mypillow.com/Braveheart today. To check out faster, use your cell phone to scan the QR code and click on the website now to order. Go to mypillow.com/Braveheart and order today. Thanks for joining us today on The Connection Show, where we bring you stories that will transform your life. The Connection Show would appreciate your support. Please go to either our Patreon page or our PayPal Me Now link today. We love our podcast show guests and appreciate our listeners and YouTube subscribers. Please go to our YouTube channel called The Connection Show and Braveheart Workshops and subscribe now. Remember to click the gray bell in the All tab so you don't miss any upcoming episodes.